Hey students, this is a lecture on 10.4, the slope of a line. So slope basically tells you how steep your line is, and a lot of people like to think of it as the rise over the run. Okay, the rise is how much you go up, and then the run is how much you go to the right. Okay, and your rise can also go down if you have a negative slope. But the basic picture is if you draw a right triangle like this, the rise is how much you go up or down, and then the run always goes to the right. And the slope, or the steepness of your graph, is m equals the rise over the run. Okay, and if you label these points x1, y1, and x2, y2, the rise is actually going to be y2 minus y1. Okay, so the rise is going to be y2 minus y1, and the run is going to be x2 minus x1. Because if you subtract, if you see here, if you subtract y2 minus y1, that gives you this distance here. And then if you subtract x2 minus x1, that gives you the run. And because it works that way, that gives us what's called the slope formula. Okay, so the formula for slope is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's the formula for the slope of a line going through the points x1, y1, and x2, y2. Okay, so slope of a line passing through the points x1, y1, and x2, y2. Okay, so I'll go ahead and box that. So your first type of homework problem from this section, you're going to be using this formula to just calculate the slope of a line. Alright, so let's see an example that uses this formula. Actually, we'll do a couple of them. Okay, so example, find the slope of the line that passes through the given points. Find the slope of the line that passes through the given points. Okay, and for number one, we're going to find the slope of the line that passes through the points negative 2, 2, and 7, negative 6. Negative 2, 2, and 7, negative 6. So what we need to do here is we actually need to label these points. Okay, and we want to label them. Remember that the formula is in the form x1, y1, and x2, y2 for our 2 points. So to use this slope formula, we need to label our points x1, y1, and x2, y2, just to make it easy to plug stuff into the formula. Okay, so label. I'm labeling my first point x1, y1, and my second point x2, y2. Alright, and then I'm going to go ahead and write down the formula. So it's m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And now that we've written down the formula, we can actually just plug everything in. So we can see that y2 is negative 6 and y1 is positive 2. So the y2 minus y1 is actually going to be -6 minus 2. And then on the bottom we have x2 minus x1. So x2 is 7, and then x1 is -2. So we actually have 7 minus -2. So there's going to be two minuses there. So in our denominator we have 7 minus -2. All right, and then now that we've plugged everything in, now we can simplify this fraction. So on the top, -6 minus 2 is -8. And then on the bottom, 7 minus -2 is the same as 7 plus 2 because these two minuses cancel out. So we cross those out, and we get 7 plus 2, which is actually 9. So we get -8 over 9, or -8/9. So our slope m equals -8/9. All right? And that's the whole problem. And the reason we're learning about slope is later on we'll be using it to graph stuff. Okay, but right now we're just trying to figure out how to find it when we're given 2 points. Okay, so I wanted to do one more because there's one tricky one in your homework. Okay, so number 2, example number 2. For this one, our points are -2, -7, and -2, -5. So once again, you want to label your points x1, y1, and x2, y2, just to make it easy to plug everything in. And then you're going to want to go ahead and write down the formula. So the formula is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay? And then you want to plug everything in properly. So here we've got y2 minus y1 is going to be -5 minus -7. Okay, so we have -5 minus -7 on the top. And then on the bottom, we have x2 minus x1. So that's going to be -2 minus -2. So on the bottom, we have -2 minus -2. And so then we just go ahead and simplify our fraction. So on the top, the minus -7, those cancel out, and that becomes +7. So on the top we have -5 plus 7, which is 2. And then on the bottom, we have -2 minus -2. So again, the minuses cancel out and give you a +2. So you have -2 plus 2, which is 0. So we actually have 2 over 0. Now remember, if the 0 is on the top and there's another number on the bottom, this slope would have been 0. But this time, because the 0 is on the bottom, remember you're not allowed to divide by 0 in math, it's undefined. So what do we say for our answer? We say our slope m is undefined. That's what you write when you divide by 0, you always write undefined. Because you can't divide by 0. It just doesn't work. Okay? So those are the two ones that I wanted to do for slope.